Let's talk about some of these guys. So very unique with the 25 and the 26 kids playing in the same game. There were, to me, a lot of standouts, guys I want to run through here in terms of 25 5 stars that you expect, maybe some guys that outperformed their ranking, and then some 26 guys and see how they looked. So, I'll just get started because it was really a fun game to watch and an interesting game because of the multi-class dynamic, which is a new thing. Michael Fasusi, man, big time tackle, committed to Oklahoma or signed with Oklahoma, 5-star. He looked like he's ready to play right away. He started the game at right tackle, also played left tackle when Keenyi Pepe, a 2026 5-star, went out the game. So Fasusi showed, to me, he was probably the best right tackle and the best left tackle on his team. He was patient. He had incredible length. And just, look, we know he's got upside and raw talent. He was on the freaks list. But to me, what surprised me about him was just his readiness to play. He was an alpha dog in practice. On3 called him the top performer of the entire week. So if you're an Oklahoma fan and you had struggles on the offensive line, I think you could pencil in Fasusi to play immediately and give you, starter caliber production right away based on what we saw going against some of the best young defensive linemen in the country. Another guy, Pete, that jumped out to me, Elijah Griffin. Not exactly a sleeper, right? 5-star player coming out of Savannah, Georgia, committed to or signed to Georgia. He had a sack in the game, showed unbelievable athleticism, fluid athlete, body type is ready to go. I mean, he doesn't need to put on a ton of weight. He reminds me a lot of Jalen Carter, who, of course, came out of Apopka, Florida, went to Georgia at defensive tackle. Great athlete, similar build. Although I'd say that with Griffin, he's a little more, Jalen Carter had a lot of, he was a very emotional player, right? Up and down.
Yeah. So it was, still is.
Still is. Griffin, you hear him talk. I mean, this guy talks like a pro, acts like a pro. Just a great, we don't really know these kids, right? Because we're not getting to know them too well. But Griffin is a guy, to me, that just hearing him talk, he seems like someone's going to play right away. But it's going to give you athletically and size-wise a lot of what you got from Jalen Carter, who, of course, one of the most talented players to ever put on the red and black.
And you see some of these one-on-one reps from practice during the week, just dominant.
Yep. Another guy that, again, I'm starting with the 5-stars, right? So these are not exactly sleepers, but Dakorien Moore, man, 5-star number 1 receiver in the country out of Duncanville, Texas, signed with Oregon. We saw Jeremiah Smith this year. We saw Ryan Williams this year. Ryan Wingo did some things. Clemson's young receivers all did some things. We saw Coleman come on late for Auburn. So a lot of these 5-star receivers really did their thing early. Dakorien Moore, man, he reminded me of Jamar Chase. Maybe not as tall as Jamar Chase, but he is somebody with just incredible strength and explosiveness, particularly in his lower body. You see him here catching a short pass, making a move. But this guy, he played at a different speed than everybody else, on top of having strength and power, right? The punt return he had was just unreal. Caught it off the bounds, reverse field, beat everybody to the sidelines quite easily, made a move on the sideline, and then scored the touchdown. So the speed, the vision, you're going to talk on the sideline. The guy was extremely confident in his interviews. He just carried himself like a day one early player because of his size and because of his instincts and explosiveness. Big hands. Again, Jamar Chase at LSU would be my comp. Maybe not as tall. There you see him on the punt return. Maybe not as tall, but look at that strength and just the explosiveness. Maybe it's the number 1 too. That's getting my attention. But.
Oh, the number always plays into the player comparisons. I don't care what anyone says. It definitely plays a part of it, but I see it for sure.
And again, day 1 player. Duncanville, Texas was really cooking last year with some of these guys. We'll talk about Keelon Russell in a second, but
man, you're trying to claim all the top talent for Florida, man.
I wish it was. It hurts me to talk about these Texas guys balling, but certainly they did in this game in the state of Florida. They're out there in DeLand playing the game. But an area that's really heating up is that DMV, right? So, that Baltimore, Washington area has been producing some monsters going back to Dylan Stewart, who signed with South Carolina. And in the class of 26, now we're going to next year, they have another one with Zion Elee. This guy, 6'4", 220, tested off the charts, number 1 player overall, committed to Maryland, so staying home. Yeah, he's a physical freak athletically and all that stuff. But what jumped out to me was the motor, the fluidity, the technique. He was constantly winning battles in this game. Micah Morris, a 2026 offensive tackle that's going to be a highly rated top 100 type player. I mean, this guy completely annihilated him, both on a 2-point conversion and on a strip sack during during live play. Not as big as I expected. I know he's listed at 6'4", 220 verified, but he didn't look that big next to some of these other guys, just eye test wise. But his impact with his just natural feel, his motor, was that of a top 5, top 1 overall player. So impressed with him. I think the rating on him is right on. Again, the only negative I'd say is the size was not what I expected, but he definitely did his thing.
You see him moving there in some of those drills, and the fluidity's there for someone of his height for sure.
100%. Somebody who's fluid and fast, man. Javari Flowers. Now we're taking it back to the hometown from Miami, Florida. Miami Northwestern High School, coached by Teddy Bridgewater, who won a state championship, then immediately became the head coach, became the backup quarterback for the Detroit Lions. But this guy is one of the fastest players in Miami. He's probably the fastest player in Miami. 10-4 speed, and he also plays fast. There you see him next to Teddy Bridgewater. Great returner, great corner. Had a great week of practice. Everybody was talking up his performance in the practices. Then you go to the game, and he picks off KJ Lacey, the Texas commit, breaks on the ball, just extremely fast, makes the break, and then the ball's tipped up in the air. He kind of juggles it to bring it down. So he showed the coordination to make the catch. He showed, of course, that just explosive break, which you see when he's coming out the blocks on the track. And there you see with the ball in his hands, whether it's offense or kick returning. You had Ben Hanks last year as a must-have corner from Miami, Florida, with first-round potential. I think Javari Flowers is that next guy.
Shout out to our boys at 305 Sports for this video as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Not the biggest guy, Flowers, but big enough, and the speed is rare.
Without a doubt. So keeping it moving here, Keelon Russell headed to Alabama, quarterback, and we understand that Milroe is headed to the NFL. Going to be a new era there at that spot for them. So is this a guy that you think could come in and be the man right away?
So the only question here is going to be just the size, because seeing him in the game, with all the other big players, he's very skinny. He's tall, but he's very skinny. And he's not wiry strong. He's going to be skinny for probably his whole career. He'll get bigger, but he's not going to be big. But man, this guy is such a cool customer. He's got such a fluid arm that he could change angle so easily. Such a natural thrower of the football, and just in total command. Mentally, this guy is A1 elite. You saw it in Duncanville. He led that team to win after win after win. He's coming into Alabama with the plan of starting. And, again, size is the only question, but I could see it. He led 2 touchdown drives. Would have led more, but he twisted his ankle. Made one unbelievable play where he was getting sacked and delivered the ball, again, from a crazy twisting angle to Vernell Brown. So, look, you see him right there. He kind of looks like Ja'Cory Harris, who we saw back in the day from Northwestern with the number 12.
Yeah, I was gonna say, there you go again with the number comparisons. It's the number 12.
But just not the biggest guy, but the arm, the velocity is all there, and mentally, I just think this guy will remind people of Bryce Young with the mental side, but just more height, right? This guy knows how to play football, knows how to get the ball in the end zone, and then some guys have good arms when everything is perfect. This guy has the fluidity in his arm to generate velocity from different angles.
Jake Cru, the next guy that we'll talk about here at the defensive line, and he definitely showed out yesterday.
Yeah, this is an IMG product, super high motor, man. This guy was, coverage sacks, beating people off the ball. He was doing it all. Very much a natural pass rusher, right? So this guy, when you talk about pass rush, it's the bend, it's the change of direction, the finish, and then of course the motor. He had that. He was all day. I don't know how many times he hit the quarterback. He must have had 5 quarterback hits that I saw at least. And again, not physically huge. You look at Jared Smith from Auburn. That guy looked like an NFL player already. Kreul's not that. He's a little on the smaller side. He'll gain weight. He's a 26 kid. But because of that natural pass rush and motor and the ability to beat these 5-star tackles consistently, I think he's a guy that's going to be, high 4-star, top 100 player throughout the year. and somebody who's going to get a lot of interest from big time schools.
I was waiting for you to drop the Micah Parsons comparison with the number 11.
Not as athletic, not as physically overwhelming,
right,
but somebody who just knows how to get it done.
Next guy up here, Dijon Lee.
Yeah, Alabama signee from California, 6'3", 6'4", looked the part physically, but when that height, you wonder, is someone going to be stiff and unnatural? He looked natural at corner, had an INT, knocked down a ball, just generally looked aware and fluid, particularly in the red zone where he was pretty hard to throw on because, again, 6'4", 6'3", either one, he's a tall corner, man. And Alabama's got some young corners that, they believe in between, Mincy and Brown, some of these guys, Bawe, but this guy, because of his polish and his length, I think can come in there right away and play. 5-star player, coming all the way from California. It's amazing. Alabama, even with the bad season, still having the ability to go to California and get this guy, go to Texas to get Russell. They're doing a hell of a job recruiting wise to hopefully take some of the heat off their head coach.
Yeah, look, the brand is strong still. I don't think there's any doubt about it. And you talk about his size and his length. This is a guy that a lot of people say about body types like this. Oh, well, he'll eventually play free safety, but man, if you don't have to move them, if they have the hips to play corner and the fluidity and the ability to do everything you need to out there, if you have to cover some smaller, quicker receivers, then you don't move them because it is such a tough matchup on the other side there.
No question. And he has the demeanor, so I think corner is the spot for him, and we'll see how his body develops. But he looks like a day one impact guy.
Landon Rink, as we keep going down the list here, and again, we're talking Under Armour All-American Game. Standouts. This is the first year that juniors are playing in the game with the guys who are about to be at the college level. A lot of them enrolling here in the next week. So really nice to see that playing field, all of them out there at the same time. So different year, but we keep going down this list here in terms of the standouts, and Landon Rink is next up.
Yeah, Landon Rink was one of my favorite guys in this game. 3-star, which is crazy to me. From Texas, headed to Texas A&M. This is a guy who's on the freaks list. You could tell he's got weight room strength, but he's a functional athlete, man. Does not look like a big guy where he moves, and his motor was just unbelievable. He was always around the football. Again, I don't know how this guy was a 3-star, but he was hitting the quarterback consistently. He was stopping the run. Round dude, but not fat, and a very good mover. I think Texas A&M hit a home run with this evaluation. They lost a lot of defensive linemen. They just picked up, player from the portal we talked about earlier, but Landon Rink, it's a man's position, but if someone's going to play right away, it could be him just because of his strength.
And everything from all the reports from the practices were that he was just dogging people out there. And you and I have been in a bunch of these camps. The trenches one-on-ones are really the separators from the men to the boys. Like, you can see when guys are just manhandling people and taking their will from them. And it seemed like that was the sort of week it was for him out there.
Yeah, Kane's got saying he's no longer a 3-star. I think he was a borderline. I think 247 might have had him 4, and I'm positive had it 3 or the other way around. But he should be a high 4. I mean, this guy could. I mean, look, it's too late, right? It's the end of the process, but this guy can really, really play. The next 2 guys I want to take together here, right? So,
yeah. Look, Vernell Brown, a guy that I've had the opportunity to interview and talk to, was super impressed with how polished he was, professional, right? I mean, look, the NIL era, these high school guys are dealing with it now, but just because they're dealing with it doesn't mean they're ready for it, right? And this is a guy who, I mean, when I talked to him, came away I was just blown away with him. And then on the field has been that guy for a few years now, a leader. A guy who just takes games over and can do it all at the wide receiver position. And we saw that again yesterday.
Yeah. And he's someone who I saw him in the state championship game against American Heritage Live. He's ready to play right away. Smart, like you said, explosive, plays both ways, corner and wide receiver and special teams as a returner. He'll be a receiver and a returner at the college game. But he was there for his quarterback, especially on these broken plays. He was able to find little gaps in the zone. Keelon Russell loved throwing it to him. Here's the play I was talking about. Keelon Russell just, getting smoked and delivering the ball. That was just an incredible play by Russell. But then, Brown was in the right place and made something happen after the catch. He is going to make instant impact for the Florida Gators in the slot. Of course, they already have Eugene Wilson, but I think, this guy right here could be an immediate impact player with DJ Lagway.
Leading receiver on his team yesterday as well.
Yep. And look, he's not the only guy going to the Florida Gators. Also, Naeshaun Montgomery from Miami Central, somebody actually from Warwick, Rhode Island, which I go every summer to Warwick, Rhode Island. It's not it's much different than Miami Central in terms of the competition level. So he came down here to play at the highest level of Dade County football and was productive. Also, the 7-on-7 circuit, team raw, he was really, really good. Known for his vertical leap and his ability to make these high point catches. He kind of glides in the air. Really unique athlete. You saw him after his touchdown that he scored in this game. He did that back handspring right there. Boom. I saw him do that at the overtime 7-on-7 too. He loves to jump. And look, if you could do it, why wouldn't you do it? He's a great athlete. He has some length. Lateral quickness he's working on. Strength he's working on. But he was able to find the ball in this game. Was not, just a one-trick pony. Had multiple catches. He's really polished up his game since going to Miami Central, going against DBs like Javari Flowers in Dade County. I think he's really been good for him, and he showed out today. And he's someone that I think is further along than maybe I thought he would be from a competitive standpoint with what he showed in this game and in practice.
Yeah, and listen, Miami Central program that puts out a lot of talent. I think this was a big year for him to be able to be down here. So, look, I have high hopes for him at Florida. The speed, he's not a 4.3 guy, but every receiving core needs a guy like this who can go up and get the ball.
No question about it. And he does have long strides, right? So he can get behind defense.
I mean more like quick.
Yeah, he's not dynamic.
Yeah.
But he can get you. He can get down the field, and you saw with that jumps, he's got some spring in his legs.
Right. I don't want to down the athlete without a doubt. So as we keep it moving here, Jackson Cantwell, he has the pedigree. Both of his parents were Olympians, and this is a guy who has been wanted by everyone in the country as the top tackle for next year's class.
Yeah, and look, I'm going to talk about all three of these guys together, right? Because to me, you treat them together, which is Jackson Cantwell from Missouri, the 5-star, Keenyi Pepe, the 5-star tackle from IMG, and then Micah Morris, high 4-star from Vero Beach, Florida. These are all top offensive tackles playing the game for the class of 26 and just taking them in turn. Cantwell, I think he was a second-team right tackle, so he didn't play as much for his ranking. I think the reason is he's just very raw as a pass blocker. He runs most of the time at the high school level, and his pass blocking reps in this game looked very rough. You could tell he's got great size. He's got great power in his hands, of course, as a champion thrower, and he had some moments in practice. His body type and just the way he moves kind of reminds me of Spencer Brown, the right tackle for the Buffalo Bills. Another number comparison, right? Number 79. But I see that Spencer Brown's somebody that developed over time. And I think Cantwell, even though he's a 5-star, just seeing how he looked pass blocking, you don't want to throw him in a situation where he struggles. You want him to develop over time. And I think that's what you need to do. Keenyi Pepe, the Polynesian offensive tackle for IMG, of course, a lot of comparisons to Francis Mauanoa, who signed with Miami as a 5-star out of same school. He's close with Pepe. He is somebody that, Pepe, he's not as wide as Mauanoa at the same age. Up top, he's more narrow. He needs to get his upper body strength there, but he does have a strong lower body, good athleticism. He started at left tackle in this game, actually at Fasusi at right tackle, which shows you what they think about him. And he had his moments. When he was going against Kreul, he got smoked. When he wasn't going against Kreul, he did pretty good. So I think that was really the story there, was that his teammate gave him the work, but he did, of all three of these guys, he played the most and probably had the most good reps. So that's the story with him. Just get stronger and improve his consistency. But look, these are 26 offensive tackles. There's no surprise they're all struggling.
It's a position of development without a doubt.
Right. And then Micah Morris, a lot of people think he's going to Ohio State, like his teammate TJ Alford. Miami's also in the mix, like it was for both of those players. But I think with him, he did start also for the black team. He got smoked quite a bit. Had a lot of trouble with Zion Elee, but he had a nice play where he got beat. The guy forced a fumble, and then he took the ball from the guy who recovered the fumble and got it back for his team. So good effort. But the story of this game from the 26 kids is the guys that were most overmatched were those highly rated tackles, probably just because of the physical development issue.
Right. So, I mean, look, it's exciting, man. We got an early look at these 2026 kids, right? So the cycle is about to start in earnest. We saw a couple commitments from the game as we broke down a bit earlier in the show. So this camp circuit will get started here, and you and I will be at all of them that are down here in South Florida, without a doubt. So we'll keep everyone updated, man. It's exciting that we live in the hub down here where a lot of the top camps are. So we'll be out there and bring you guys the news here on Group Chat Football and Group Chat Football Live.
Absolutely, guys. Like and subscribe. We cover in portal, recruiting. We won't be stopping. Appreciate everybody's support in the chat, and we'll see you on Monday.
See you Monday.